Hello, everybody. Derek Pascarella here, known in some circles of the darkest corners of the internet as A-Team. Project lead and developer slash editor, graphics artist, you name it, on my most recent project, Nakoruru, The Gift She Gave Me, a fantastic visual novel, Samurai Showdown spin-off for our beloved Sega Dreamcast. I've got an awesome team of translators, localizers, and editors who are really coming together to work hard to give this game all of the polish that it deserves. And I wanted to show a little preview of a test build today. I'm going to be recording directly from Flycast inside of RetroArch. I don't have any proper, sort of capture equipment set up to go from hardware. And as much of a real hardware enthusiast as I am, this will have to do for today. So without further ado, let's get going. So this entire game, every square inch of it was in Japanese. The only thing that was in English was the press start button text that we will see on the title screen shortly. So let's just press start, just get past this warning message, and then we see the usual introductory sequence, things like ADX, etc. And Cool Kids, not sure if they were going for Cool Kids, kind of reminds me of the Kodak logo. Maybe it's just me. And then I've also inserted this English translation team screen here to give some kudos to everybody who worked so hard on this project and continues to until it sees a release, hopefully by Christmas 2022. I think this might be the only place the SNK logo ever appears. Everything else is Cool Kids and Interlets. Even the box, the manuals, the disc, I don't think SNK appears anywhere, but let me be quiet here for this beautiful introductory sequence.
みんなはどうしてカムイコタンに春が来るのか知ってる？今夜は春の精霊の物語を歌うわね。悲しくて切ないけど春の風のように温かい物語。
Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. First time I saw that, I immediately fell in love with this game. And after doing some basic analysis, well, I say basic, but after poking around at the game a bit and realizing I could do it, I decided this had to be my next project. And that was in, I think it was June 2020. So has been quite a while in the making, and here's the press start button text that I said previously existed, and I'm happy to, to have found the matching font so that everywhere else I was able to use that same exact font style. The logo here is a custom English logo done by, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name, but everything is in the credits. And the subtext I put down there, Samurai Showdown Adventure, just to pay a bit of homage to the series from which this visual novel spins off. So let's take a look at the menu. Getting all of these textures lined up and re-rendering them is a lot more work than you'd think. We've got some settings we've got to configure here, various options. Things like text speed, where we can essentially say regular, where everything has this nice fade-in effect. Fast just does that a bit quicker. Line is a line-by-line transition, whereas instant causes it to appear, well, instantly. And actually, that's my preferred method, or setting rather, for text speed. We'll see that in a little bit. Text transitions for manual or auto. Just like it says, you can kind of have the game run on autopilot, but honestly, it runs a bit too fast, and you kind of defeat the whole purpose of playing a visual novel to begin with. The transition delay actually adds an additional delay in between rendering different text boxes for dialogue, and the volume settings do what they sound like, right? We can adjust the voice levels. Everything in this game is voiced with very, very good voice acting, great actors and actresses. Sound effects, same thing. And background music, of course. Typical stereo mono. Minigame level, I honestly suggest players just leave it on medium, although you still have a good time on easy. And vibration, yes, this game supports the puru puru or jump pack, so there's actually a number of scenes that cause it to shake or vibrate or rumble. Pretty cool stuff. Those who've also been following this have probably seen my bonus disc video, so I'm actually shipping with this patch an entirely separate bonus disc. So that bonus disc is going to include a fully unlocked save, so you can get access to all of this content before even finishing the game, as well as a full OVA episode you can watch directly on real Dreamcast hardware, and 2 songs from the game that you can listen to on hardware as well. So all of this unlocked content, I really wanted to make sure that, right off the bat, and even if they didn't finish it, players had the ability to see all of this because, we spent so much time on it, it would be a shame to have it kind of, go to waste for a lot of people. So there's a typical picture gallery, right, where we can browse through a lot of these different images from the game. Even got the English Nakoruru logo and that placeholder pink tile you see behind there. Just like any other picture gallery from a game, we can browse through them, go back. And we'll go back to the extras menu and take a look at some of the other offerings here. So we've got music, basically a sound test, but all of the music from the game, streamable right here from this menu. And there's tons of tracks. We've also got our character portrait or profile section here, which includes messages from the voice actors. Now this is really awesome, and the translators and localizers did a tremendous job on coming up with very great localizations for these messages. So let's say for Nakoruru, for example, we can browse through some of her portraits and also check out a message from the voice actor or actress. And these are really, really great to kind of get in the head of, these folks who did this recording 20 or so years ago. And there's actually one that's very funny. Let me scroll over to it. I believe it's Mibaba, one of the old ladies, the sages. You'll see them in a bit. Yes, to all the youth across the country toiling in front of their Dreamcasts. And then, very funny, at the end, it's signed here, Old Ladies Are Forever Young, signed member number 1, the Nicotine Society for Active Seniors, meaning she's got to be the most senior of those seniors. And for those that don't know, Nicotine is a reference to a character from Samurai Showdown. So let's go back, and the last section here would be the VMU applications. So if you follow me on Twitter or any of my Dreamcast Talk forum posts, you'll probably have seen a write-up on this one. So the game includes 4 VMU applications, little mini games, if you will. And in order to translate these, I went through tremendous efforts, but essentially they just sit on your VMU, and it's a little clock. You go there, cute little character sprite, animated character sprite. You press the little A button on the VMU, and it shows a custom message from that character to you, the player. So a lot of work went into making sure every single aspect of this game was fully translated. Let's go back to story mode, and we will start a new game. Before doing that, I'll just show the load save menu. So you have the ability to save in, I believe it's 20 slots by default. It may be larger if you have extra space on the VMU, but you can see it shows you the chapter and, of course, the timestamp. We'll go back and we'll start a new game here, and I'll be quiet so we can check out the beginning of this tremendous tale. So here we can see that regular fade-in effect that I was talking about with the text speed. And the original Japanese version, the speaker's name, which you see in orange here, was actually just regular white text in brackets. So this game not only features that modification, which took me quite a bit, but I think really paid off, it looks great, but also an entirely custom font sheet. This is probably the 7th iteration. I may implement a variable width font now that I've really kind of advanced my let's just say advance my skill set when it comes to Dreamcast ROM hacking. And now that I have better tools at my disposal, it may be something I can pull off before release. I may even just consider narrowing the width a bit, but even this 22 by 22 pixel font sheet doesn't look so bad. I've definitely optimized the space available. And we'll also see that for any internal thoughts or internal monologues, so to speak, we see this italic font. And as you continue to play the game, these two different font styles really help delineate between active dialogue and something that Mikato, the protagonist, is saying to kind of her audience. This is really a flashback, after all, this entire game. And as I mentioned, everything is voice acted except for lines from the protagonist, Mikato herself. So let me just proceed through these a little bit. And now we get our title screen, or we're about to get it in a moment. There it is. And our very first chapter, chapter 1. So at any time during the game, except for in the middle of mini games and other certain areas, you can press start to see a pause menu with the typical options, right? Save, load. Memo is kind of like a quick temporary save. I just suggest avoiding it altogether. History is actually pretty cool. You can see an actual line-by-line transcription of all past dialogue up to that point. Not going back forever, but going back to a certain point. And then our settings menu brings us back to what we saw in the title screen. And if I go to instant, which is preferable, we'll see the text comes much, much quicker.
おい、お前、起きろよ。
There's our first instance of spoken dialogue.
起きてるならいいんだよ。いちいち謝るなってんだ。
And we can notice there that his voice continued to play across multiple text boxes. So if we think about the original Japanese game, it was designed and really programmed intending that all of the Japanese for an individual instance of dialogue was contained within one of these boxes. But of course, for the English translation, I had to generate multiple boxes to fit it, which was great. That was a great hurdle to get around. But then, what about the voice? I spent a month pulling off an assembly hack just to make it so that that voice would continue to play across all text boxes until that speaker's line was done. And I'm very glad that I did, because I'd hate to have people robbed of the experience of listening to the awesome voice acting in this game.
だから謝るなっての。ばあさまたちが呼んでるぞ。早く支度しろってさ。たくのろまな。あ
Good old Hokute.
バカ。お前なんかお前で十
Quite the
分
jerk.
だ。
But Mikato says as much, so. Yeah, I didn't really like him that much, she says. Now we're about to notice something, a little texture flicker as this character fades away. You'll see in just a moment. See that there? So on original hardware, if using a disk, that doesn't occur. If using an emulator or an ODE, where data is being streamed or read from your storage medium faster than kind of an original GD-ROM drive would, for some reason there's an issue where certain textures flicker. So what's really cool is on the mode there is either the ability to drop a config file into the game folder, which I'll be providing with the release, that will mitigate that. Otherwise, there is a global setting within the mode that allows for that. On GDEMU, the ODE of choice for me, you can, within the INI file, set the read limit to 1250, which is the max for the read limit, kind of mimicking the GD-ROM drive's approximate fastest read speed of, about 1.2 megabytes a second. Note that that feature is only available on firmware 5.20.3 and above. So if you're using a clone, one of the pre-5.20 clones, you are SOL. USB GD-ROM, I have not yet tested it. I've got one of those coming in the mail shortly from my whole test kit over here. But I will mention that I've been working with Dunin, the GDEMU creator, and did some testing, and it turns out the next firmware release will actually have a hard-coded optimal timings profile for this game that will ensure you don't have to do anything special, and none of that flicker will occur. It's not too terrible, but enough that it kind of makes you wonder, did Derek break something in patching this? No.
まったくじゃ、昼になるかと思った。私は日が暮れるかと思って。何よこしゃくな。あたちゃよくそれなら私は。お前らやかましい。高い位置から同じ声でペラペラペラペラ。朝あんたが一番うるさいと思うけどね。まったくじゃ。
The three sisters always trying to outdo each other. So this game definitely starts out very lighthearted feeling, and it's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, but I will say that it definitely has adult themes. No, I'm not talking about Red Label type adult themes, but it does get very serious, and it definitely makes you think. It's a very compelling story, beautifully written. It's kind of for all ages. But anybody who's still a fan of playing the Sega Dreamcast in 2022 and beyond, your age group is probably the perfect target demographic for this game. It's fantastic. You're in for a real treat.
おおそうじゃついにボケたか黙らしちゃい見たとお前はイレシパクルを出て別の場所で暮らすことに早く行くのじゃ早くせねばヒバ私の方がお主よりはそんなことはない私のおい二人とも同じ年で
You're the same age. Cracks me up.
とにかく早く
お
We
ー
saw a
い
little bit of that mild flicker there again. And now Hokute is going to show us the way to the chief's house.
ばあ様がさ長老様の家まで案内しろってめんどくせえけどよお前まだカムイコタンって結構広いそうだな123お前が昔住んでた村はどうだ人の数は多かったかカムイどうしたははんあそっか悪いでも助かってよかったじゃん精霊が守ってくれたからお前は無事だったんだろお前きっと運がいいんだよイレシパクルから出て外で暮らせることだって相当ついてんだぞ
Living on the outside. Hokute, spoken like a real convict.
当たり前じゃん親代わりの人が見つかったってことなんだからなあ別にだから謝んなっつーのバカ
And here we are coming to the first occurrence of one of our prompts for a player choice. So like any visual novel, there's a lot of different, kind of branching paths one can take. Certain flags and things get set depending on the choices you make. But I will say that by and large, it is pretty linear. But there's definitely a lot of the game to experience. I really suggest saving frequently if you're into, experiencing every single branch and every single possibility. There even are a couple of bad endings, but the game tries to take it easy on you and kind of lets you go right back to the point from which you deviated. And we can see our prompt here. Sometimes there's 1, 2, 3, 4. But how about we ask about the building?
お前そんなことも知らないのかよよし今回は特別に物知
And
り
here
な
we
俺
see
様が
our
教え
first
てやろう
occurrence of one of the Ainu vocabulary terms. So this game takes place some 300, 400, 500 years ago, I think about the 1600s, in what's today the Hokkaido region. And so these are the Ainu people, an indigenous population with an entirely, kind of separate culture unto itself, and definitely a very distinct and unique language, the Ainu language. So in order to do a correct and proper localization and translation, even from Ainu to Japanese to English, was a tremendous amount of work. Our team had to dig into a lot of resources to, kind of discern the true meaning and also the correct way to, Romanize or, spell with our typical Roman alphabet those words. And when those words come up, we've made sure to teach them to the players. So you'll see that here, this poo is in double quotes. And throughout the game, we find clever ways to help explain this vocabulary until it kind of becomes ingrained. And, you have to stop. You no longer need to remind the player what it's all about. Very well balanced.
食料を入れとく倉庫 俺の
And
大
the
好
poo
物
is the
の鮭の
pantry.
煮物とかが入れてあるんだ。
And here's
別に
Hokute
俺
talking
こっ
about
そ
how
り忍
he's
び込んだり
never snuck in and stolen anything he promises.
あ、マナリ。ははは、マナリは相変わらずだな。マナリだよ。カムイコタンのシノッチャの家に住んでるんだ。
Shinocha, another one of those terms.
歌い手だよ。お祭りの時とかに歌を歌うんだ。それがな、音痴らしいぜ。楽器の演奏はすっごくうまいけど、イレシパクルに来て。お、ここだここだ。それじゃあ
And
長
here
老
we
様に
are
よろしくな。
at the chief's house.
ミカト、よく来たな。もう村の生活には慣れたかね。緊張せずともよい。清ら今日お前を呼んだのは他でもない。ミカト、お前はイレシパクルをで本来なら子のない家にでも預けるところだが、お前は年に似合わず分別があり、そうだ、お前はこれから我がカムイコタンの巫女。ナコルルは現在戦いの旅。巫女はカムイコタンの自然が脅威にさらされた時には全力。ナコルルはついに諸悪の根源を討伐し、明日には村へと戻ってくるらしい。ナコルルの持つ宝剣の守護長ママ母が飛来し、そのように泣き出しそうな。それにナコルルとの暮らしはお前にとっても得るところが多い。
Well, there you go. Start of a new life for our protagonist.
ナコルルはカムイコタンに戻った後、巫女の家に住むことになる。やはりあやつはさまよっていたミカトを見つけられたのもカムイのまあ何はともあれ今後のナコルルとの生活に全てが
や
All right. Well, I'm going to have to save there. Maybe I can pick this back up and show a little more of the game some other time. Just go ahead and overwrite this save. But yeah, I hope those who have been following the project are kind of excited for the eventual release here. I promise you that me and the team are working tirelessly to get this out the door. But of course, we are not going to rush this whatsoever. We are spending all of the care and all of the meticulous, all the meticulous little intricacies of working on a project like this to ensure that the final result is something we can all be proud of. And that's it. So that has been me, Derek Pascarella, signing off with a little test build preview for Nakoruru, the gift she gave me. Stay tuned and wait to see what happens next.